I don't know why I'm telling this story. Maybe to warn you. Maybe to make sense of what happened. Or maybe because it still isn't over. It all started when I moved into that house. A small, run-down place on the outskirts of town. The kind of house you drive past and never really notice. It was cheap. Too cheap, honestly. And I should have questioned why. But I needed a fresh start. And I was desperate. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. No creaking pipes. No hum of passing cars. Just an unnatural stillness that settled over the house like a thick fog. I brushed it off as my imagination. But then, the knocking started. It was soft at first, coming from the walls. A slow, rhythmic tap, 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 like fingertips drumming against wood. I told myself it was just the old house settling, but deep down, I knew better. A week passed, and the knocking grew bolder, more persistent. It would move through the house, starting in the living room, then shifting to the hallway, then right outside my bedroom door. I stopped sleeping. How could I, when something was knocking from inside the walls? And then, it spoke. It was around 3 a.m. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to ignore the knocking, when I heard it. A whisper, faint, almost drowned out by the sound of my own heartbeat. Let me in. My blood turned to ice. I bolted upright, heart hammering against my ribs. The whisper came again, closer this time, right outside my door. Let me in. Nope. Hell no. I wasn't about to open that door. I grabbed my phone and started recording. If I was going crazy, I needed proof. But when I played the recording back, all I heard was silence, not even the knocking. The next morning, I convinced myself it was just a dream. Sleep deprivation messing with my head. But I knew better. That night, I barricaded my door with a chair. I don't know why I thought it would help. Whatever was in that house didn't need doors. At exactly 3 a.m., I woke up, gasping. Not from a sound, not from a nightmare, but from something worse. Something was in the room with me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. A presence pressing down on my chest, cold and heavy. My breath came in short, ragged bursts, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis, right? That's what I told myself later. But I know what I felt. It was watching me. The presence leaned closer, and I swear I could hear it breathing. Slow, deep, right against my ear. Then, a voice. You brought me here. And just like that, the pressure lifted. I sat up, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. I wanted to run, pack my bags, and never look back. But where would I go? Whatever this was, it wasn't attached to the house. It was attached to me. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I was barely functioning, just waiting for 3 a.m. like a prisoner, waiting for execution. And then, the worst night came. I was sitting on my bed, phone clutched in my hands, the screen casting an eerie glow in the darkness. I was live streaming, desperate for someone, anyone, to be a witness, to prove I wasn't insane. Then, right on cue, the knocking started. The chat exploded. "Is someone in your house? Dude, call the cops. What the fuck is that?" The knocking moved. From the walls, to the ceiling, to the door. Then, the handle started turning. I couldn't breathe. The door creaked open. The chat went wild. Messages flooded in, but I couldn't focus on them. My eyes were locked on the darkness beyond the doorway. And then, it stepped inside. A shadow. Not a person. Not a figure. Just darkness in the shape of something almost human. It had no face, no features, but I could feel its eyes on me. I couldn't move. The chat froze. My screen glitched. And then, my phone died. The room went black. A whisper crawled through the silence. "I'm here." I don't remember what happened next. I must have blacked out, because the next thing I knew, it was morning. Sunlight poured through the window, and I was curled up in the corner of the room, shaking. I checked my phone. The stream was gone. The recording gone. Like it never happened. But the messages were still there. People saw it. I wasn't alone. I left that house that day, packed what little I could carry, and never looked back. But it didn't matter, because I still hear the knocking. Still wake up at 3 a.m. with the weight of something pressing down on me. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear it whisper, "You brought me here." Deep breath. If you're listening to this, if you ever hear knocking in the walls, don't answer.
Story number 2.
I don't even know where to start. I've never talked about this before, but I need someone to hear it. Maybe if I say it out loud, it'll finally go away. It happened 10 years ago, but it still haunts me. I was 16 when my family moved to a small town in Tennessee. My parents had just bought this old house, one of those places with a long history and too many secrets. The kind of house that looks normal in daylight, but turns into something else when the sun goes down. The first time I saw it, I felt off, like the house didn't want us there. I told my mom, but she brushed it off. "It's just an old house, honey. You'll get used to it." I never did. The first few nights were fine, but then things started happening. At first, it was little things. Doors that wouldn't stay closed, lights flickering, cold spots in random places. Then I'd wake up in the middle of the night to whispers just outside my door. Too faint to make out the words, but enough to send shivers down my spine. One night, I got brave, or maybe just stupid, and pressed my ear against the door. The whispers stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a voice, clear as day, whispered, "Come downstairs." I ran to my parents' room, shaking them awake. My dad checked the house, but of course, there was nothing there. He told me I was dreaming, but I wasn't. The next night, the whispers came back. Only this time, they were inside my room. I didn't sleep after that. I tried to convince my parents to leave, but they wouldn't listen. My mom kept saying I was adjusting. My dad thought I was making it up. Then one night, my little sister Emma started sleepwalking. I found her standing in the hallway at 3 a.m., staring at the basement door. I gently shook her. "Emma?" She didn't respond. Then she lifted her hand and pointed at the door. "They're waiting," she whispered. I don't think I've ever been more terrified in my life. I dragged her back to her room and locked the door behind us. She didn't remember any of it the next morning. I started researching the house. That's when I found it. A story buried deep in an old newspaper archive. In 1957, a family had lived here. A mother, a father, and their son. One night, the parents were found dead in the basement, torn apart. Their son was missing. They never found him. I showed the article to my parents, but they thought it was just an old ghost story. But I knew better, and so did Emma, because that night, she disappeared. I woke up to find her bed empty, the covers thrown onto the floor. The house was silent, too silent. Then I heard it, a creak from downstairs. I grabbed the baseball bat from my closet and crept toward the basement door. It was open, wide open. I didn't want to go down there. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But Emma was down there. I stepped inside. The air was freezing, the kind of cold that burns your skin. My breath came out in shaky clouds as I moved deeper into the basement. And then I saw her. Emma was standing in the corner, facing the wall. "Emma?" I whispered. She didn't turn. She didn't move. I took another step forward, and the basement door slammed shut. The light above me flickered. The room felt wrong, like something was pushing down on me, making it hard to breathe. Then Emma spoke, but it wasn't her voice. "He's still here." My blood turned to ice. Emma slowly turned her head toward me, but her body didn't move. Her eyes weren't her eyes anymore. They were black, empty. Then she smiled. I don't remember screaming, but I must have. Because the next thing I knew, my parents were shaking me awake. I was lying on the basement floor, the door wide open. Emma was asleep in her bed, like nothing had happened. We left the house the next day. My parents didn't ask questions. They didn't want to know. We never talked about it again. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whisper, "Come downstairs." And I know he's still waiting.
Story number 3.
I don't know how much longer I have before it finds me again. But if I disappear after this, at least someone will know what happened. It started when I moved into my first apartment. Nothing fancy, just a cheap one-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an old building downtown. The kind of place with paper-thin walls and flickering hallway lights. But it was mine, and that's all that mattered. At first, everything was fine, normal. Until I found the closet. I don't mean my bedroom closet. No, this one was different. It was in the hallway, near the front door. I didn't notice it when I first moved in. But one night, I came home late and saw it, just standing there, slightly open. I could have sworn it wasn't there before. I walked up to it, heart pounding, and pulled the door open. Empty. Just a small, dark space with wooden walls and a musty smell. Nothing strange, but when I tried to close it, the door wouldn't budge. It was stuck. I figured the wood had warped or something, so I left it alone. That was my first mistake. The next night, I woke up to a sound. A slow, deliberate creaking. I sat up, ears straining in the dark. The sound was coming from the hallway, from the closet. I got up, heart pounding, and stepped into the hall. The closet door, which had been stuck the night before, was now open. Wide open. My stomach twisted. I walked up to it and peered inside. Just darkness. Then, a whisper. Faint, raspy, lingering, right next to my ear. Let me out. I jumped back, slammed the door shut, and shoved a chair in front of it. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called my landlord, asked him about the closet, why it was even there. His voice went quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. There is no closet in the hallway. I hung up without saying a word. I turned and looked at the door, still blocked by the chair, still very much there. I should have left then, but I didn't. That night, the knocking started. Soft at first. A light tap, tap, tap against the inside of the closet door. I lay in bed, frozen, staring at the hallway through my open bedroom door. The knocking grew louder, more urgent. Then, the whisper. Please, let me out. Nope. Nope. Hell no. I grabbed my phone and started recording. If this was real, if I wasn't losing my mind, I needed proof. The knocking stopped. The air in the room felt heavy, like something was standing right beside me. Then, my phone screen flickered, and a text appeared. A text from an unknown number. Let me out. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking. Then, creak-a-ache. The chair in front of the closet started sliding away. By itself. I ran. I didn't stop running until I was outside, gasping for air in the freezing night. I never went back inside. The next day, I broke my lease and left. I didn't care about the money. I just needed to get away. A week later, I drove by the building one last time, just to see. The window to my apartment was dark, empty. But as I stared, something moved. A shadow, standing in the window, watching me. And then, my phone buzzed. Another text. You left the door open. I blocked the number, got a new phone, moved across the country. But it doesn't matter. Because last night, I heard it again. The knocking. Soft at first, then louder. And this time, it's coming from my bedroom closet.
Story number 4.
I shouldn't be telling you this. Talking about it only seems to make it worse. But if I don't, I'll go insane. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, the kind of place where nothing ever happens. Our house was old, but not creepy, not the kind you see in horror movies. It was just home. Until the night my brother disappeared. His name was Danny. He was 9 years old, 2 years younger than me. We shared a room, and every night we'd talk until one of us fell asleep. But one night, something changed. I woke up to the sound of whispering. At first, I thought it was Danny talking in his sleep. But as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw him sitting up in bed, staring at the closet. "Danny?" I whispered. He didn't answer. I followed his gaze. The closet door was open. Just a crack. A sliver of darkness, deep and endless. A shiver crawled down my spine. "Danny, go back to sleep." That's when he turned to me, and I swear to God, his eyes weren't. They were empty, hollow. Then, in a voice that wasn't his, he whispered, "It's watching." I felt something cold slither through my veins. I scrambled up, reached for the lamp, and then the closet door creaked open, slow, deliberate. Inside was nothing, just darkness. But somehow, I knew something was there, watching, waiting. Then Danny smiled. Not a normal smile. No, this one was wrong, too wide. And before I could stop him, he stood up and walked straight into the closet. The door slammed shut behind him. I screamed. I ran to the closet, yanked it open, and Danny was gone. Vanished. No footprints, no sound. Just gone. My parents didn't believe me. The cops thought I was in shock. They searched the whole house, the whole town. Nothing. It was like he never existed. Days turned to weeks, then months. My parents stopped talking about him. People stopped asking, but I never forgot. And the worst part? The closet never opened again. Not once. Not even when we moved out. The new owners couldn't open it either. Like the door wasn't meant to be opened anymore. Like it was never supposed to be opened in the first place. It's been years now. I moved far away, started over. But last night, I woke up to something I haven't heard since that night. A creaking sound. Soft. Slow. I turned my head, and my closet door was open. Just a crack. And from the darkness, I swear I heard my brother whisper, "It's watching."
Story number 5.
I never believed in ghosts. Not really. I thought all those stories, haunted houses, cursed objects, restless spirits, were just that. Stories. I don't think that anymore. It started when my grandmother died. She left me her house, a small, creaky place on the outskirts of town. It had been in our family for generations, and my mom used to tell me stories about how strange things would happen there. I never took her seriously until the night I moved in. The first thing I noticed was the rocking chair. It sat in the corner of the living room, old and worn, with deep claw marks along the arms. My grandmother used to sit there for hours, staring out the window. The night she died, my mom told me, the chair was rocking all by itself. I laughed it off. Just a draft, right? Old houses settle. But then, the whispers started. The first night, I was lying in bed when I heard it. Soft, barely audible. A hushed conversation just outside my door. I held my breath. Listen. Then, the rocking chair creaked. I froze. I didn't want to look, but something in me had to. Slowly, I turned my head toward the living room. The chair was moving, rocking, back and forth, empty. The air felt heavy, thick with something I couldn't name. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind. But deep down, I knew better. The next night, the knocking started. It came from inside the walls, slow, deliberate, a pattern. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more, like something was trying to get out. I put my ear against the wall, heart hammering, and a voice whispered from the other side. She never left. I stumbled back, grabbed my car keys and ran. Spent the night in a motel. The next day, I went to see my mom. I told her everything. She looked at me for a long time before sighing. I was hoping it wouldn't find you. I didn't understand. Then she told me the truth. My grandmother hadn't died peacefully. She had been taken. She had been warning us for years, telling us something lived in the walls. Something that whispered to her at night. We thought she was losing her mind, but she wasn't. And now it was my turn. I never went back to that house. I put it up for sale, but it didn't matter. Because last night, I woke up to a sound. A slow, creaking noise, like a rocking chair moving in the dark. And then, a whisper. She never left.